Hello, KMMA friends, family, students, and all anyone coming across this video. I am happy to be here having a cup of coffee with you this morning. I got something important to talk to you about. And thanks to my friend Marcus, who asked me the question yesterday. Yesterday, Marcus caught me by surprise when he asked me, because we talk about our businesses all the time, but yesterday he said, "What were your greatest lessons learned from your time in the military?" And he kind of caught me by surprise, so I answered quickly with like one thing. But now, having pondered it for 24 hours, I'm going to share the five or so greatest lessons that I developed growing up in the U.S. Army. I'm Shannon Steve. I am an author. I'm the founder and chief master instructor at Krav Maga Martial Arts, and I'm a motivational teacher. And I'm glad to be with you this morning. Today, my lessons learned from growing up in the Army. I joined the Army at 17 years old, and I was a paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne Division when I was an enlisted soldier. And there, what I really learned, my lesson learned from there was grit, stick-to-itiveness, perseverance, audaciousness, and the fact that you can make yourself whatever you want to be from who you began. Because I went through U.S. Army Infantry School and then Airborne School. And Airborne School is where they teach you how to become a super duper paratrooper, to transform yourself into a super duper paratrooper when you're beginning as what they affectionately call a dirty, nasty, stinking leg. Leg is the term of endearment for anybody not airborne in the 82nd Airborne Division. But listen, what we did learn is this: the idea that when there is an obstacle in the way of one's mission and one's goals, that there are choices. And the choices are, you can find a way around it, you can find a way over it, or you need to find a way through it. But what you can't do is not overcome that obstacle on the way to mission accomplishment. So that attitude and that grit is probably the greatest thing I took from that time. But the second thing that I wrote down in thinking about this morning, as trying to capture my thoughts about it, is gratitude. Because I'll tell you, first of all, I left the Army. I left for the Army so young because of some things in my life that were not exactly as I wished them to be. You know, I was running from something when I joined the Army. But this contemplation, of course, is great for an attitude of gratitude of all the things that happened, what I became on that process. And gratitude, number one, is what I've already told you. Just growing up with the men, the paratroopers of the 82nd Airborne Division set me up with an attitude that still serves me well, these many decades later. But here's a couple other. I jumped into Honduras with the 82nd Airborne Division when I was just turning 18. And, the getting that experience of how a third world country lives caused me to realize how much I had to be grateful for. And as I think I've kind of already alluded to, my childhood wasn't perfect in all the ways. And there were some trials and tribulations and challenges, and none of that really was hardship compared to the people we were helping in Honduras. So I think the second thing that I got from the Army was an attitude of gratitude. And by the way, here's another one, maybe closely related to the attitude of gratitude, is the reality of God incidences. Because what had happened was that in this particular chapter of the story, which maybe one day I'll write, but certainly I have lived, my unit was going on block leave. When you're in a unit like the 82nd Airborne Division, anywhere in the world, in 18 hours, we were a quick reaction force. So what happens is all of the soldiers are supposed to take leave at the same time. You can't just take leave whenever you want. But I had some emergency leave earlier for something that had happened in my family. And so at this time, I didn't have the leave accrued. So then what happens is you stay back and you do chores. Basically, I did lots of barracks cleaning and other chores throughout the day because my unit was on leave, which meant, of course, we were not deployable at that time. So they just, when you're not training to fight or fighting, in a unit like that, then you're cleaning and doing stuff like that. But here's what happened really cool. I decided every day after my chores were done to walk down to the education center, and I learned of something called the CLEP, college level equivalency thing. And by the way, I had come from a situation of poverty in which I wouldn't have gone to college any other way than the story I'm about to tell you, which I haven't really told. But I took this CLEP test, and the God incident was that at the end of the week there was this sweet little old lady, and I really really wish I knew her name because I tell this story a lot, and it would be more useful if I knew her name. Perhaps I should make one up for the story. I don't know, but she was a sweet little lady nonetheless, who called me in and she said, "Son, in a week you've clept out of a year of college. Fill this out." And she passed me an application for the U.S. Army Green to Gold program, and I filled it out. And to be honest, then I somewhat forgot about it because I went back to work, and we had war deployments and RTEPs, and which are training exercises, and other things we had to do. So I was in the field for a long time before one day I came back and I was sitting in the hallway, and we were cleaning our weapons as you do. By the way, you don't notice until you get back from the field and you're sitting in the hallway how much y'all stink. But anyways, so I was cleaning my weapon, and then they bring you your mail call. And for those of you that don't know, we used to have paper mail that we would get and read. It wasn't just all electronic, but anyway, so you'd get your mail call, and I opened this one, and it said, "Congratulations, you've won an Army Green to Gold scholarship. Report to the University of Tampa," on whatever the date was. But whatever the date was, here's a really cool part of the story too, is it was only a few days later. So in short order, I got to clear. That means I, signed out. I had turned all my equipment in, did all the things I had to do, my exiting interviews for my commanders and all the things within a very short period of time. And before I knew it, I began my new life as a cadet and a student at the University of Tampa, where I studied philosophy and communications, and of course, military science and leadership. So I'm grateful for all that, because that was really the beginning of all the rest, which brings me probably to number 3, which is two loves that have served me well and that are so much a pillar of who I became and what we do at Krav Maga Martial Arts, my leadership development academy that also happens to teach the most practical self-defense in the world. And that is a love of learning. I love reading. I read every morning. I love listening to great podcasts and watching great courses and learning from great mentors. And I have now for decades. And that's one of the things I'm grateful for, because had I not developed that love of learning, life would have gone very differently. And a love of leadership. Had it not been for the Green to Go scholarship and subsequent training that I got through the Army, it wasn't the training itself, but it was the love of leadership, the love of leadership training, the revelation, the lesson learned that everything rises and falls in leadership. Of course, as part of my journey later, I would find out that John Maxwell said the same thing. Great leadership guru John Maxwell said everything rises and falls on leadership, and no organization can prosper beyond the leadership level of its leader. And so all appropriate support of what I began to realize as an officer in the military, that in order to grow better, stronger, faster than you were before, even more important than the subject matter specifics that people generally focus on in education, leadership training makes all the difference in the world. And of course, all of the things I've talked about, the grit, the gratitude, the lifelong learning, and in the leadership training and development are pillars of our Black Belt Leadership Program at Krav Maga Martial Arts. And it's kind of funny that all this revelation came from Marcus's question. I never really had put it together in just this way, the way these things formed me, and then formed the Black Belt Leadership Program at Krav Maga Martial Arts. And indeed, forming so many other great black belt leaders. It's our mission at Krav Maga Martial Arts to develop confident and competent black belt leaders prepared to survive and thrive in any situation and empowered to lead where they are and into their futures. And wow, it's so neat that is an evolution that began with that little, 18-year-old kid in the 82nd Airborne Division, and then in the 3ID as an officer later in Germany. And then, so lesson 4, I think I'm on from that time, is people. Because, when I talk to other vets, we all agree that what we remember about military service, what we even sometimes miss about military service, is very, very seldom anything other than the people. It's about the camaraderie, the bonds that you make with your fellow paratroopers, with your fellow soldiers, with your fellow officers, with those that do hard things, great things, wonderful things, important things together. And I realized that, wow, that too has informed the way that we do things at Krav Maga Martial Arts. Because as amazing as our Black Belt Leadership Program is, the culture and the people are what make it most special at all, and most special of all. And I believe that when my Black Belt leaders look back on their time here, whatever they do in life, whatever their mission turns out to be, that they will always remember the time fondly, and they'll especially remember the people. And then I have the purpose, the mission. I was blessed because so young an age to be doing a job that makes a difference. And to this day, I have such gratitude for the men and women of all the armed forces that serve our country, that defend our country. Because let me tell you, it's a difficult life, but it is a life of service and purpose and difference. And I think that's the final lesson learned that I take away, or at least that I, want to spotlight in this message today, is a life of mission and purpose, because I still get to live it today. I feel exactly that way about KMMA, about Krav Maga Martial Arts. I told you the mission already. We develop confident and competent black belt leaders prepared to survive and thrive in any situation and empowered to lead where they're at and into their futures. And I have such a sense of purpose about it, and so do my team. And, and by the time these black belt leaders become black belt leaders, so do they. Because rather they decide to stay and pursue this mission with us, or rather they decide to take their focus, respect, discipline, confidence, gratitude, and vision out of the dojo and into the world to do great and wonderful things in their lives and their future. In either way, they will carry with them all of these things as well and live a life of purpose. Prepare to live, empowered to lead. Make this a meaningful day.